Good morning, good morning, good morning, you guys. I hope you guys are all having a great morning. It is a beautiful, beautiful day outside. Today is Friday. For me, whatever day it is for you, you guys are having a great day. Okay. So today I want to make a video for you, and we're going to talk about another great American hero. Okay. Last week we talked about Harriet Tubman and how she helped change America. Okay. We're going to talk about another person that helped change America. And for me to do that, I have to change my screen. So let me present my screen to you guys so you guys can see it too. Okay. Hold on one second. Okay. Let me see. All right. All right. All right. So we are still in February, which is Black History Month for most of us, right? So for all of us. What do I mean, most of us? And in Black History Month, we celebrate the accomplishments and the contributions or the things that famous or not so famous Black Americans did to help America become the great place it is. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a man named Jackie Robinson. Okay, here's a picture of Jackie Robinson. This is his baseball card, and if you collect baseball cards and you had this one, you'd be very rich today. Okay, and I have right here Jackie Robinson, a black hero, right? But I have the word black crossed out and I put American hero because Jackie Robinson wasn't just a black man, okay? He was an American man and he was an American hero. And I'll tell you why, okay? So in the United States, sports has been very important to us, okay? It gives us entertainment, it gives us something to do, it gives us something to watch. And when we get old, like Mr. Gomez gets old and I can't play football no more, I gotta watch football players that are professional and are young and can still do it. Okay. So for a very long time in the history of the United States, sports has been very, very important. And I hope you guys all have a favorite sport. So today we're going to talk about professional baseball, okay, Major League Baseball, and how Mr. Jackie Robinson changed Major League Baseball and changed America. Okay, so this is a picture of Jackie Robinson when he was in college. His name, when he was born Jack Roosevelt Robinson in January 31st. Okay, so his birthday just passed like a week ago. Okay, and he was born in Georgia to parents that were very, very poor. Okay, they worked on a farm as sharecroppers, which means that they worked on the land and helped the farmer farm all the land, and all they got out of it was some food to feed themselves. Okay, so they were very, very, very poor people. Okay, and so at one point, his mom had to raise him and his brothers and sisters on her own. So she moved out to Pasadena, California, which is outside Los Angeles, and it's a big area now, but it wasn't so big then. Okay, and he was probably the poorest out of everybody in Pasadena because the neighborhood in Pasadena was actually a really, really nice neighborhood. Okay, and the people that lived there had a lot of money, but they didn't. Okay, so he ended up going to a high school there where he played basketball, he played football, he played baseball, he played tennis, and he ran track. Okay, and he was a superstar at all those sports. He was the greatest one in his whole school. He was the fastest. He was the highest jumper. Okay, he was the strongest, and he ended up graduating from that high school with honors and awards in his athletic ability, but also in his academic grades. So he studied real hard and made sure that he had good grades. Okay. Now during life, when Jackie Robinson was growing up, it wasn't easy for him. Okay, because at that time in America, it was an ugly time in America. It was a time when people were separated just by the color of their skin. Okay, by their race. And so when Jackie Robinson grew up, there were places where little black kids and little brown kids couldn't go. Okay, those were special places for only white people and little white kids. Okay, and these were ugly laws that the United States had, and it wasn't very good because it treated people differently and it forced people to live in lives that they didn't really want to live in just because of the color of their skin. Okay, the schools were different, the restaurants were different, and you couldn't go in certain places if you had brown or black skin. Okay, so it wasn't easy for Jackie Robinson. But after college, I mean, after high school, Jackie Robinson went on to college, okay? And he went to one college where he was a superstar athlete, okay? Here's some pictures of him when he was playing track, when he was playing basketball, he was playing football, and he played baseball too. But his baseball sport wasn't his best sport. He was actually okay at baseball, but he wasn't great. But in all the other three sports, he was the greatest in his whole school. Okay. And he ended up going to a university called University of California, Los Angeles, which is a great big giant school now. And it's one of the best schools around. Okay. And he was a superstar there too. After college, he ended up going to Hawaii, and he went to the state of Hawaii to play football. Okay. But he wasn't getting paid superstar money like the rest of the football players were at that time, because at that time, black football players couldn't play in the real professional leagues like white football players. Okay. So he ended up making $100 a game, which for him, he was happy, but he still wasn't making nowhere near the amount of money that white football players could. Okay. And he was the best football player in all of Hawaii and in that league. Okay. But then something happened and the Japanese bombed the state of Hawaii. Okay. And it ended up making us go into war. So Jackie Robinson had to stop playing football, and he ended up going into the army. Okay. And he was in the army and he was doing good, and he tried to do officers training, which means that he would have been like one of the highest people in the army. He would have got promoted and he would have been like in charge of other people, but they didn't want to let him be in the officers club because he was black, right? And at that time, black men weren't allowed to be in the officers club. Okay. So certain friends of his had to speak up on his behalf and had to say that he was a good man for the United States Army to let him in the officers club. And once he did really, really well. Okay. The problem was Jackie Robinson hurt his ankle and he had to get on a bus to go to the hospital. But guess what? On the bus, the black army guys and the white army guys couldn't sit in the same spaces. The white army guys got to sit in all the good spots on the bus, and the black army guys had to sit in the back. But Jackie Robinson didn't think that was right. He said, "We're all in the army and we're all fighting for the United States. Why shouldn't we all get to sit in the good part of the bus?" Right? So he got mad and he didn't want to go to the back of the bus, and he refused. And so the army arrested him, and the army brought him up on charges. Like they arrested him and sent him to court, and he had to fight his way out of court, and he did. And they let him out of they unarrested him and apologized to him, and they let him out of the army on what's called an honorable discharge, which means that the army lets you out and they say you're a good guy. Okay. So after his army career, he wanted to play baseball and football, right? The problem was that baseball and football weren't equal. Didn't allow black players to play in the major leagues. Okay. Right here, I have a picture of two teams. Okay. One is of a team of white players, and they were making really good money and got to play in really nice uniforms, got to play in big stadiums. Okay. And the black players, they got to play baseball too, but they had to play on a team that was only black players, and their uniforms weren't all that nice, and they had to play in a park instead of a big giant stadium. Okay. So, and they didn't make nowhere near the money that the white players did. Okay. And this was still an ugly time in United States history when people had to be separated just because of the color of their skin. Okay. And so Jackie Robinson wanted to play. Now, Jackie Robinson did start to play baseball. Okay. He played remember, we go back here to for the black teams, right? Where all the teams were that all the black athletes could play on. Okay. And he played for a team called the Kansas City Monarchs. That was a professional team, but it was in the black only league. Okay. Now he wanted to play with the white people, and he wanted to be just seen as a baseball player. He didn't want to be seen for the color of his skin. So he decided he was going to try to play for the white team. Okay. So he got signed to a baseball team called the Brooklyn Dodgers, which at the time, which now is the LA Dodgers. Okay. But at the time, the Brooklyn Dodgers were the best team in baseball. Okay. And he agreed to play for them. But the problem is nobody wanted him there because of the color of his skin. So it was hard to play professional baseball with Jackie. He would show up and his teammates would spit on him. They would make fun of him. They would call him ugly names. They would bully him because he wasn't, as a black man, wasn't supposed to be playing with white men on the same field. Okay, the fans that were in the stands like yelled evil things at him. They threw bottles and trash at him, and even the referees that were supposed to referee the game didn't want to let the game happen because Jackie Robinson was a black man playing on a white man's field. Okay, like I said, this was an ugly time during American history. Okay, so Jackie Robinson continued to try to play. He didn't fight back. He had a good attitude, and he was just waiting for the day people would let him play baseball. And it finally happened. In April 15th, in 1947, he finally got to play his first game as a Major League Baseball player. And he was the only black man to play on a field with full of white men. And the thing was, he was so great. He was greater than great. Okay. He got to play in the World Series. He got to be the player of the year. He got to be an all-star for 6 years in a row. Okay. Jackie Robinson was one of the greatest baseball players to ever play baseball. Okay. He was so great, in fact, that they got his number 42 and they did something they retired his number, which means no other person that ever plays baseball can ever wear the number 42 again. Okay. And that's such a big deal because nobody else in baseball has ever had their number retired in all of baseball like that. Okay. So Jackie Robinson, he was inducted into something called the Hall of Fame, which is a museum for great baseball players, right? And so he's seen as one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Plus, he was one of the greatest men of all time. So Jackie Robinson, he's an American hero because he grew up during a time where it was hard to be black. It was hard to be a little black man or a black boy and grow up to be a black man, okay? Because people would just judge you and hate you for the color of your skin. But he had a passion to play sports, right? And he used that to get into high school and into college and graduate from college with a degree. After that, he served in the army and he fought against the racism that was happening in the army. And he made sure that he was fighting for people that they couldn't fight for themselves. Okay. And then he went into Major League Baseball and he was the first black man to play with white men in Major League Baseball. And he faced hate and discrimination in there because he wanted to play baseball just like everybody else. And he ended up being one of the best baseball players of all time. Okay. And he was honored like that too. But Jackie Robinson wasn't just one of the greatest baseball players of all time. He was one of the greatest people of all time. And he became not a black hero for it. He became an American hero. Okay, you guys? So that's why I wanted to share his story a little bit with you guys so you guys could know how great of a man he was and why we should honor him today. Okay. Why we should study about him just a little bit and know a little bit about his story. Because it is Black History Month and we want to be able to celebrate some of the heroes that made our days here today a little better. Okay. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys are having a good day. Stay safe. Okay. Keep washing your hands. Keep wearing your mask when you go out. Okay. And can't wait to see you guys back here at school. Bye.